How do you make a cheap cut of meat taste good? Tonight I'm making eye of round steaks for dinner, and traditionally this is not a super flavorful piece of meat, but I'm gonna show you what I do to maximize the flavor in this very cheap piece of beef. We all know by this point that in order to have a great steak, the best thing is to really start with a great steak. At this point in time, that's really a luxury item that we can only afford every so often. So I'm dealing with what I've got. Recently I bought a whole eye of round. I cut it into some steaks, a roast, some cubes or chunks, and I keep all of my meat in the freezer in resealable bags. And the handy thing about that is once it thaws, I can just make the marinade straight in the bag like I'm going to do with this today. The first thing I'm going to do is actually take these out of the bag for a minute. I'm gonna poke a bunch of holes with just a fork. And try to work quickly so they don't come all the way up to room temperature. Okay, so now I'm just gonna make my marinade directly in this plastic bag. So I want to use some citrus for acid. I have a lime and an orange. And I'm gonna start off by just zesting both of these directly into the bag. I know that some people might get squeamish about the fact that I'm not discarding this liquid that is collected in the bottom of the bag. I honestly didn't even think about it until it came time to sit down and look at the footage to edit this video. Even though it doesn't look very appetizing, the red liquid in this bag is not blood, and there's also not nearly as much of it as how it appears on camera. This is the same stuff you might see when buying fresh meat at the grocery store, and there's little bits of red liquid in the bottom of the container. It's called myoglobin. Myoglobin is a protein that carries oxygen through an animal's muscles, and it's present in higher quantities in red meat. Now, in the case of these specific steaks, the eye of round comes from a part of the cow that gets a lot of exercise and therefore has more myoglobin. If you like a rare steak, this is the protein or juice that is giving it that color. Your steak is not bloody. Myoglobin changes color when it's cooked to a certain temperature, and this is why when you're ordering steak at a restaurant, the terms color and temperature and doneness might be used completely interchangeably. Not only is this particular part of the cow full of myoglobin, but I froze and thawed these steaks, and meat is about 70% water, so as the fibers contracted and relaxed, it allowed water to escape as well as myoglobin, giving it that pigment. And it's a totally normal practice to just dump this liquid down the drain, but I can't seem to find any literature stating that it needs to be discarded or that any harm may come to me by consuming it, so I usually just leave it in. I pretty much always zest citrus now since I got this microplane, just because it actually makes it that much easier to just get as much of the flavor out of the citrus fruits as possible. Okay, so I got my citrus, my acid in here, glug of olive oil, maybe a tablespoon. I like the way parsley flakes rehydrate themselves in marinades. About half a teaspoon of oregano. Whoop, missed the bag a little bit. Nobody's perfect. Grind in some fresh black pepper. How many cranks was that? What do you think? 15-ish cranks. And then just a really generous pinch of cumin. Cumin can be really overpowering, and I don't necessarily want this to taste like taco seasoning. I'm gonna seal the bag up and just mix everything around. Salt my steaks. Now I'm just gonna put these right back into my bag. When I'm getting to the very last corner, I'm just gonna try to squeeze out as much air as I can. And I'm just gonna smoosh this all around. Make sure the juice is getting down into the middle of it. Now these steaks can just hang out in the fridge for the majority of the day. It's about 10:30 now. I'm planning to cook dinner around 5:30. That's going to be 7 hours. I think that 3 to 8 hours is a good window of time to have in mind when you're marinating beef.
7 hours later.
Okay, and this is my citrus marinated eye of round steaks. I've cut them nice and thin just to make eating it that much easier. And let me know what you do to tenderize tough cuts of meat in the comments below. I'm Lydia Jones. This is Dinner with Lydia. I hope you're taking care of yourself and enjoying all the flavors of life. Thanks for watching.